Welcome, friends. Nope Coach, episode 36, Societal Conditioning Hindering Women Making Money. Now, that is a mouthful, but I am excited to unpack it with the fabulous Lynda James. So, Lynda and I have known each other for years, and I love everything about the work that you do. Oh, I'm Suzanne Kohlberg, by the way. I didn't introduce myself. Hope you know who I am by now, but this could be your first time listening. Where would you like to kick us off today, Lynda?
So today I just wanted to chat about something that we're both passionate about, which is women moving through life, more themselves, with great boundaries, and being able to uphold them and stuff. And so I think we both have had this discussion before, and so I'm glad that we're recording it, that women are kind of brought up being told to behave in particular ways that impact the way how we think we look. It impacts our bank balances. It impacts us like so many parts of our lives. And so today I wanted to mention maybe three main bits I've noticed that we are told to do that I think kind of make it very challenging for us to, make money, run a business, ask for that pay rise, be able to be good financial negotiators, things like that.
I love it. So where are we starting off?
First one is politeness.
Ooh.
So quite often we are told to be polite, to wait to be spoken to, like almost like, pay attention a lot to the words that we're using to not hurt or impact another person. But quite interestingly, I think this makes women be not direct in their language. It makes them be quiet when really they need to be speaking up. So there's this kind of trail on effect there. And I've noticed that this doesn't happen in men the same way, particularly in the business realm.
I have
So,
a personal example I can
yeah.
give to that. When I was early in business, I, as many of us are, struggled to ask for the sale, like to be clear. And I would provide lots of value, to have lots of, I had a newsletter, I would do Facebook Lives, I would provide content, I would run webinars. But when it came to the point where it was like, now actually invite people to work with me, my voice would get really high-pitched, I'd talk really fast, and then I'd just get off camera or whatever. And there was one day, I can remember it very clearly, where someone sent me a message. I love all of your content. I read all your newsletters. I watch all your videos. You talk a lot about, hypnotherapy. So I've hired a hypnotherapist. I'm pretty sure I spoke to you after this situation.
I remember this conversation.
And I was just
Yes.
like, Lynda, what the fuck? I'm a hypnotherapist. And you were like, so Suze, have you made it clear? Like, do you actually then offer? And I was like, well, they should just know. I'm being polite. I'm being nice. I'm providing this value. And you're like, yeah, but did you actually say, like, now could you work with me? Like, did you be clear with the invitation? No, I was not at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. So the reframe I try to often give clients is business is not really about being overly polite. It's about being direct and honest. So what we want to do in business or around money is actually to not be hurtful of another person, but to be actually honest about what we are requesting, what we are putting out there, and the terms and conditions around stuff. That really is much more kind than kind of this wish-washy behavior, of not really saying something and, not really stating your boundaries or expectations. So, yeah, I think that might be a good point, number one, for getting better at making money, or managing money, things like that. Be very direct and honest over being polite.
I love that. Awesome. So what's point number 2?
Two, women often don't ask for what they want, or they're afraid of asking for too much. So we don't get our needs met. We don't specifically say what we're after. There's all this, funny behavior around asking for things.
I think the way you framed that, asking for too much, because many of us, the societal conditioning, that premise of this episode is if I take like too much, then somebody else has less. We're not actually conditioned that by us asking and getting our needs met and the other person's needs being met, everybody's getting more. Nobody's taking away from. It's your whole reframe. Whereas like, I don't want to take up too much space. I don't want to ask for too much. I don't want to be rude or bossy or overbearing. But there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference between asking, as you said, asking, making an invitation. Hey, do you want to come buy my thing? Would you like to come work with me? Or demanding, without this, forevermore, you're never going to be able to do this thing, which is what a
Yeah.
lot of us have seen. That is gross.
Yeah. And quite often what you're talking about with the too much piece is that we have like a inbuilt fear because of this societal conditioning that then we're being greedy. And so then guilt comes up. So it's like then kind of you can't be have these big inner conflictions around having what you want and then feeling guilt and greed, right? Like they're kind of like opposite magnets. You won't go and ask for that pay rise, or put that price out, the higher offered price, if you're feeling guilty or greedy at the same time. So that's why we have to kind of unpack that bit. Am I actually asking for too much? Did I just ask for something absolutely ridiculous, or did I just ask for something that was quite reasonable in this circumstance?
Yeah, did I ask for too much, or did I ask for like my needs to be met? Because
Mm.
if my needs aren't met, then I can't show up in the best possible way. So when we settle for less, then I've seen people, and you talk a lot about proper pricing and what's the actual cost of this. When you and I first started working together and we put my offers into Zero, I was very backward. I had a spreadsheet. And then we did, I don't know, you did some magic, and it was like the thing that was my passion was actually bringing me the least amount of money, whereas the things that didn't. So actually looking at, what are your needs being met by this price? Is it covering? Because then there's things depending on where you are in your circumstance. You might need childcare or after school care. That so if you're spending everything that you make into all this, so you can just show up, and it's like, Suze, you'd be better off stacking shelves at the supermarket. No offense to people who do that, but like it was like, wow, I hadn't even thought about that because I didn't want to ask for too much.
Yeah. And then the final one is that we are afraid to be too specific or detailed or particular. It's like, oh, like, sure, I'll have a cup of tea just with a bit of milk in it, thanks. But really, you're like, actually, I kind of like a lot of milk in my tea and I like it to be super hot and whatever it might be. Like, can you soak the tea bag a long time? Suddenly, everybody's like, oh, she's high maintenance. So we do this behavior in business and around money as well, where we're a little bit vague. We don't want to be too specific because we're afraid of that judgment that women have who would just know what they want and how they want it.
Yes. Can you think of an example?
In business,
Mm.
yeah, terms and conditions is a good one. So quite often people are afraid to state their payment terms or invoicing terms and then to pull people up on it. It's like, I told you it's 14 days payment and you haven't paid. So therefore there's an interest charge on that, or it might be that you want someone to turn up a particular way. I would really like for everybody to turn up on the group call with cameras on and work ready to go. Like we're not making cups of tea or ducking to the bathroom. We're going to turn up and start from the minute the call begins.
Yes.
So,
Rescheduling is one that came to mind for me. Like you may have a 24-hour, if you cancel in less than 24 hours notice, the session's forfeit, but then actually upholding that in the beginning was very much a challenge for me personally.
yes. So there's a really interesting dynamic, right, that happens then because you get the one person who's like, but why aren't you being lenient with me? Who actually is feeling out the cracks in your boundaries that you're trying to uphold. And then that's when they may project onto you this judgment of like you're so picky or particular. And we're kind of afraid of that because we're giving women this like negative appearance for actually saying, but this is what I'm stating. This is how I want you to, do this work. This is what is appropriate and right in these circumstances.
Yeah, and it's often what we go to the person for. Like we go to somebody with strong boundaries or something because we admire that, and we want that for ourselves. But then
Yeah.
when we're on the receiving end of it being upheld, a lot of our stories can come out and projections.
Yeah.
So what would you say for people, for anyone listening who has really experienced or is in the midst of experience, this is like, yeah, I really realized that I do want to be polite and want to be nice and don't want to be pushy and don't want to take too much. Like what would be the first step for them? Because it is a process. It's not like, huzzah, tomorrow
Yeah.
it's going to be like fixed because you're not broken, but also it's like an unraveling.
It most definitely is. And so sometimes you need to go to a coach like yourself or I. That's why we do this work, because there's stuff underneath the surface preventing us from being able to uphold those boundaries or to be able to start pulling apart what we're seeing. But if you want to begin on your own, then potentially it just starts with self-awareness. So the way I see it is that when we're doing it unconsciously, we have no chance of change. And then now that we've had this discussion, there's going to be little ahas where you go, oh, I just totally held back what I wanted to say because I was afraid of being too loud or impolite in this negotiation. Or I actually didn't state the specific details that I wanted with this tradesman or with the shop assistant because I didn't want to be seen as being high maintenance or picky. So that's first step. Usually you notice after the fact. And then later on, you're going to feel yourself almost like cruising into the circumstance, and you're like, oh, I'm doing that thing. I didn't say the thing to the tradie or the person or the delivery guy. And am I going to say it or not? Am I going to actually state the particular thing I want to happen, or am I going to be direct instead of polite? And then you might slide into going, oh, I did the old pattern anyway. I just kept quiet. And then eventually you'll start moving into those circumstances going, wait, I can tell that this is about to happen. Even though I'm scared, even though my heart is pumping, I'm going to try and be really direct here instead of just quiet and polite. So we start to like pick it up at different points in the interaction. And sometimes that will actually really activate our nervous system and we'll get freaked out. And we'll be like, oh my God, I can't even think because I know that I'm supposed to be a little bit more specific here or a bit, ask for what I want, but I haven't. And that is completely okay. Like you basically need to cover yourself in a blanket of self-compassion. It's not about judgment, but it's about this self-awareness kind of progression, I think is really important for people trying to shift that behavior.
I love that. So firstly, the awareness, because often once you've heard a conversation like this or it's come into your awareness, for anyone listening, this is not the time to beat yourself up. I loved how you said a blanket of self-compassion because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So sometimes you will, as you said, not notice till after the fact and be like, oh, I did it again. But as you really start to bring focus to it, you will notice it beforehand. And in the moment of decision, do I want to? I love Denise Litchfield said it, sod it, say it. So I often say it in the back of my mind when I notice, do I say the thing or not? Be like, sod it, say it. Or there's another lady, Olivia, her surname's failing me at the moment. She's a coach for lawyers. She says, gag and go, which I love because like you're thinking the thing is in the back of your throat and you're like, oh, gagging, I almost don't want to say it. Gag and go. And then give yourself compassion afterwards and realize that the first 3 dozen times that you do this is probably going to be really uncomfortable. And then after a while, it just becomes your new normal. And also the people who know you really well will find it challenging in the beginning, but people who don't know you don't know any other version of you. So when you're just, really strong and clear with your communication, asking for your needs to be met, standing up for your boundaries, they're like, oh, either they really like you and they'll keep working with you, or they're like, she's not for me, but they get to see themselves out. So I love, and then as you also said, working with a coach, whether it be myself, whether you, I know you have a community now, which I love. What's your community called? Shameless plug. Tell us about it.
It's called The Right Kind of Company. And so it's about doing business in good company, with other people. Mm.
And what I love about that, I haven't been in this iteration, but I've been in the previous round of Lynda's community. Having these discussions, like saying, this is what happened. This is an experience. I've had people's names are obviously kept quiet for anonymity, but just like, this is what happened. And having Lynda and the other people in the community encouraging you or cheerleading you or supporting you or picking you back up when you've had some conversations that potentially haven't gone the way that you hoped. Also celebrating you when, hey, it wasn't that hard. Because often we build this up in our heads like, oh my God, this is gonna be so daunting. And then you kind of ask for the thing, you gag and go, and they're like, sure. And you're thinking, what? It wasn't that bad.
It's interesting because Brené Brown tells this like little story about quite often it's like, what is it, 10 seconds of uncomfortableness to do the thing, which then saves like half an hour to multiple hours of like resentment and dread and all those feelings after the fact. Because this is how we know that something is up, is that after the fact, we have some negative implication as a result. We're feeling resentful. We're feeling all victimy, like, poor me, I didn't get what I needed out of that conversation or, that interaction. So I think that's a good reminder
Yeah.
too.
Brene Brown says, choose discomfort over resentment. And that's it exactly. The discomfort of saying no or asking specifically for what you want and worrying about the judgment of high maintenance or whatever over the resentment of like, I'm going to have to do it myself.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome, Lynda. The time has flown by. Where can people find you?
So my website is www.velofinancial.com. So that's VALO financial. And yeah, just on Instagram and the usual places.
Love it. Thank you so much. I'll have to have you back for another one. Thanks for
Thanks,
listening,
Sue.
everyone. Bye for now.